without further ado, I do want to introduce our amazing panel members. We have the always amazing Peter Jorgensen from Hillcrest Grammar up in Queensland. We also have Marianne, who's dialing in from Queensland also, who works in the Brisbane Catholic Education Office. And Nadia from Abbotsleigh in Sydney, who is also dialing in. So thank you for joining us. I guess to kick things off, what I'd love to hear from each of you is your just immediate reflections on what you've just listened to. Jocelyn opened up with, stay human. And how are you feeling? What was your big takeaway from the last 45 minutes or so? We'll go with you first, Nadia.
Yeah, I think it just made me really reflect on the fact that we're constantly rebalancing what we've always thought about with making sure that our students are not getting too much involved in the wrong kind of destructive use of technology. And I think it sounded just a lot kinder, didn't it? Instead of thinking about all the don'ts and being, I suppose, really authoritative to students about how they should be leading their lives online, it seemed to be a much kinder approach and much more about, well, what can we actually do that's realistic and is in keeping with the ways that students live their life now?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And PJ, what were your immediate thoughts? And you're on mute still. You can stay off mute.
There we go. All right. I really like the term blend rather than balance, because as teachers, we're always trying to tell our kids to have a good balance, but it's that blend of the many different facets of their life that come together to make a whole student. And that's what we as Hillcrest try and focus on.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And Marianne, what were your initial thoughts and reflections?
Yeah, I like the idea that it's not a one-size-fit-all sort of digital well-being for everybody. You do need to manage it for yourself and your family, and then of course into the classroom as well. And that it's okay if you miss out on things. It's all good. Let it go.
Absolutely. And I think I was really grateful that just before lockdown, I changed all the notifications on my phones to pretty much be off all the time. And that was really beneficial for me. And I started using technology to help me sleep. So that was sort of enforced in what Jocelyn was saying around sleep. So, my podcast to send me off to sleep are nice and good these days. So thanks for those initial reflections. I guess what I'm also keen to hear about is Jocelyn spoke about hacks with technology. Do you have a hack to share with our teacher audience that you use for your well-being or potentially student well-being and your colleagues' well-being? And I'll throw that out too.
Yeah, okay.
Marianne, yeah, go PJ.
Yeah, my digital hack is make it hard for yourself when you get home from work. I very much stick to a boundary, but when I get home, I'm not on my laptop, I'm not on my devices, because it's too easy to get sucked into that bottomless pit of work. So I make it so much harder for myself to access emails after hours, and just doing that on my phone, I have to go through 50 clicks, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. So it stops me from working.
I love that your hack is to make it harder for yourself. That is actually awesome. And Marianne, what's your hack?
Yeah, I do use technology to sort of manage my notifications as well. So I like the way that the Teams app, you can actually set quiet hours and even quiet days, which is fantastic. I turn off notifications for emails, even though I've got emails on my phone. Having those notifications turned off means I'm not going to check every time I get, a bing. And I have to purposely go and have a look at my emails if I want to, but it means my weekend is all my own.
Absolutely, really important, especially in the teaching fraternity. And Nadia, what's your hack?
I kind of felt like Jocelyn was speaking directly to me when she was talking about a million tabs open your brain and monkey brains. That's definitely me. Because that's been me, I have always had all my notifications off. Otherwise, I'm constantly feeling like I'm missing out or need to be doing something and have that anxiety. So that's something that I've always done. It doesn't stop me looking at stuff necessarily, but at least it's on my terms. The big hack that I have is to separate your work and home life. So I actually have different apps open, or that I look at my email and my calendars for my personal life and my work life, so that if I'm looking at a personal email, I'm not accidentally seeing all the stuff I need to do for work. That's a massive hack for me. Just keep the lives separate.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important in light of what Jocelyn said around, sometimes we feel more like we're living from work rather than working from home. Jocelyn, what's your favorite hack?
Well, about 3-4 years ago, I took most social media off my phone. So I do only have one quite visual platform on there, nothing else. And I am quite good at wrangling my email. So what I've done over the years is I have a personal email, my work email, and then this kind of other one that, again, like PJ was saying, you kind of have to put nudges in place. So I have to log into it and I have to go into the password manager and all that to get to it. But that's where all of my newsletters and my distractions and all the stuff that gets in the way goes. So I don't look at that. And that's really freeing because it's there when I have time to get to it, but it's not turning my time into confetti, like all of the things that, like Nadia was saying, it's like, oh, I've got to be on top of everything. My time is gone. It's broken into confetti. So that's how I kind of manage things, mainly email and not having the ubiquity of the social media platforms walking around in my pocket.
Yeah, amazing. And I think, my hack, it's very similar, along similar lines. I don't have my social apps on the main screen. They're away. I have to make the effort to get to them, and it just lets me think before I click.
It's a nudge, right? It literally nudges you. If you imagine somebody going, don't do that.
Yes.
And, labeling that folder. So some people would say label that folder something that, again, is a nudge towards what you want to do. So mine says choose wisely. So it's a nudge to kind of ask myself, is this traction? Am I building traction here, or is this distraction? It's okay to be distracted if you choose it, but is that really what you can fit in right now?
So sort of extending on that, there was a tweet I saw from Bates_A89 that said work-life harmony is the future. And I'm interested in talking about that from a realistic perspective for teachers, because everyone on this call is either a current teacher or a former teacher. And as a former teacher who, I still consider myself to have a very busy work day and it's hectic, but it is nowhere near the insanity of the work experience of a teacher. So, if work-life harmony is the future, what is that realistically for a teacher? And it's probably a very heavily loaded question. I'd love to see the tweets as well as hear from our panel. And maybe Jocelyn might talk to it first while our panelists get to think. But, if work-life harmony is the future for teachers, what does it look like? How can we get there?
Look, it's such an incredible one. And again, in New South Wales, we are looking at salary negotiations and the Gallup report and the changing nature of our workload. And literally the education department's approach to teacher wellbeing was to struggle better. So there's a recognition of this struggle, and there's recognition that I guess it's not going away. We just have to do it better. I'm not sure that's particularly inspiring, but and the notion of harmony, sort of like balance, it's like, oh, I'm out of harmony. Am I like doing it wrong? I think the notion is, can you tune in and do you know, or do you feel confident to put boundaries in place? So a teacher's right to disconnect and not look at their email outside of work hours, I think, is a starting place. That started in France 5 years ago. It's filtering through slowly, but really kind of getting clear on our boundaries. We are not bad at our job if we prioritize having, a clear sandpit around when we're on and when we're off, because our ability to switch off, and again, it's not that simple, it's not a switch, is really, really important to then being able to charge beyond 15%, but like charge up and then do a good job, not just a, head above water job.
Yeah, amazing. And so hopefully panelists have had a bit of time to think about that. If work-life harmony is the future, what do you need? What do you see that looking like? And I'll go to PJ first.
Well, I mean, we've already seen so much changes in the workplace for people to actually not need to be at the workplace. So schools are going to be very futuristic and going to be online, with parents in this country taking better aim at cheaper housing and cheaper lifestyle habits. And we as teachers are going to be doing a lot more online teaching. But when we're doing that online teaching, it becomes a lot more individualized and personalized, which is what we want to do in education anyway. So this work harmony balance, I think it's going to be easier because we're going to know our students a lot better during that time.
Yeah, amazing insights. And Marianne, what's your thoughts around that idea?
I think it's a real challenge for everybody, really. The best, I say, solution that I've actually seen, which was school-wide, where it was set as expectations across the school that, teachers will not be expected to answer an email in, 24 hours. They are given that time to process the email and then, think about how they're going to reply, but also that they're not expected to answer, in their off times as well. So it's finding those balances and making sure that those protocols are set in place so that everybody knows that they exist.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll be my next question, actually. But over to Nadia to think about that work-life harmony in the future.
Yeah, I think the thing that's stuck out for me having a think about this is that it's actually up to everyone to hold school administration to account for this. I think that, several times I've been in Teams meetings or Teams chats with other leaders in a school late at night, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And the more that is modeled to us by our senior leaders and the more that is accepted from the teaching community as acceptable, I think the longer this conversation is going to get drawn out. I think that, it's up to every single person in a school, leadership and teachers to, I suppose, make it clear how they can contribute to a workforce that is going to be sustainable and is going to be what we would like to see it to be in the future.
Absolutely. My daughter literally starts her teaching degree this month, and it's honestly my biggest, not fear, it's just my biggest concern around well-being. The stats are clear around the number of teachers leaving the profession in their first 6 years, and I think it's really important that we can, at our, with our best intentions, work towards a better work-life balance for teachers, because in my personal opinion, it's the worst in regards to industries, and we do need to look after ourselves better, but as a profession do that as well. So I guess my next question is around, and this can be really short sort of responses, what are some specific rules that we could put in place, whether it's around email or calls or the use of that technology. My first thought is, we don't talk to one another after a certain time at night on those platforms, just to keep for that respectful time. Anyone else got any thoughts about some rules?
Yeah, I think that's a great start. And I think that probably, echoes what you were saying with your daughter. If you've got a principal who is emailing at 11:15 and, at the bottom of their signature, it says sent from my iPad, which kind of conjures a notion of them sitting up in their nightie at their iPad, which is, maybe not what you want to have in your mind. Of course, a young teacher is going to be jumping to making sure that they're being responsive and they're being a good teacher. So some of that modeling has to come from the top, and it has to kind of walk the talk. So if you want to be writing your emails at 11 o'clock at night, you can schedule that to send at 8 o'clock in the morning, so that some of the signals that you're sending are at least masked, if that's the way that you work. As I say, I work late at night because it suits my chronobiology. I'm not the 5 a.m. club person. So use the tools to work in with setting that culture of well-being within that space.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm a late worker sometimes as well. But I've started using the schedule email time, so it actually sends out in the morning. I think that's been really helpful as well. Nadia, any thoughts around some rules for us to look after ourselves and others?
Yeah, I think, and I think most schools have probably done this now, where they've made it really clear to parents and to students what's an acceptable turnaround time. If you're emailing your teacher a draft essay to read on a Friday night, can you expect it back on Monday morning? Or, just having that really clearly written down so that teachers actually have something that they can refer to. I would hope that would be in place in most schools now. And I suppose, what we were just talking about then, Jocelyn was saying about modelling the behaviours. So if you're in a position of responsibility in your school, absolutely, everyone's watching. So something that I found be really effective over this particular working from home period over COVID has been that actually there's been an email out from the principal saying, I don't want to see anyone actually working this weekend. It's essential for everyone to have downtime and spend time with their families and replenish. So I think that all of those things can really help give teachers permission to take that breath.
Absolutely. And Marianne, your thoughts around that?
Yeah, and I think expectations on when it should be an email or a Teams conversation, or even just a note on the whiteboard in the staff room as well. Sometimes that's all it needs. It doesn't need to be an email.
Yeah, I always think of I've seen a sports award where it says I attended a meeting that could have been an email. I think those awards could be many and varied in 2021. So the next thing I wanted to think about was something Jocelyn said around those body rhythms and being potentially constrained by bell times, and to imagine, if we're not constrained by bell times. So to use another one of my children as a reference, during the first remote learning period last year, they discovered that students benefited from some of that at-home time. So they ended up creating a work from home day every Wednesday for the school for the rest of the year, because it through the very short remote learning period time, they could see that would be a benefit. So imagine, if we're not constrained by bell times, if we have the power to change, how can we change the school day or change the school experience so that it does better reflect body rhythms of both teachers and students? So yeah, big sky thinking, but that's what these conversations are amazing for. So we might throw to Jocelyn again to give everyone time to think.
Yeah, no, this is one that comes up a lot, and we hear about starting school later and that attuning to the body rhythms of teenagers, which kind of wake up. Like, let's face it, a lot of my clients that I see here, they say, yeah, I wake up at 8:15 and then I can be online for 8:40, and that sleep that they're getting, they're actually much better rested. So for some of my clients, absolutely, it's working really well. So it's later start times. That doesn't always fit in with some of the people who are early. And looking at, I guess, too, the attention spans of young people. So many schools still have like 90-minute periods or double lessons of extension to maths. And they're not putting in some of those brain breaks and doing some of those things which actually reset that cognitive load and the ability to pour more information into the working memory, have it filter down into short term, and then all your revision to do for the long term. So just some of the tweaks within that could be really helpful. Some schools do it, but others were constrained.
Yeah, and it was always previously seen as, an out there sort of approach to do these things differently. I'm super excited to see more and more schools not so much taking the risk, but just saying this is what our students need, this is what our community needs, and making those changes, which I think hopefully we're going to see more of.
It often just comes from the fact that, there's peak hour in Sydney, and if it's all got to do with schools, and if they were later, we'd have 2 peak hours, and it's not necessarily ever about the kids. It's more to do with, the traffic flows and public transport, but hey, we'll take it.
Absolutely. So for Nadia, how do you see school potentially changing to fit those body rhythms?
Yeah, well, I'm a 5 a.m. crew member, and that probably comes from years of always having to commute to work. So leaving before I have to hit traffic, there we are with traffic again, and trying to leave in time to beat the traffic as well. So I'm all for staggered starts. And I know there's lots of kids that invest a lot of time and energy into athletic programs that again would really benefit from staggered starts or even staggered school days. And it's really heartening to hear these conversations coming up in a lot of schools. So I'd be really interested to see, hopefully more schools take the plunge and take some risks with their timetabling and the logistical nightmare that I'm sure comes with that. So I look forward to seeing what happens in that space.
Yes, I'm sure the timetable teachers or directors in the school will be I don't know if they'll be happy or concerned to hear about these changes. Marianne, what's your thoughts about that ideal, moving to body rhythms or supporting them?
Yeah, look, I totally agree with the staggered starts. We have some schools up here in Brisbane, Queensland, on the coast, having a go at staggered starts, so the kids can go out surfing in the mornings if they need to. But then, of course, if they are doing jobs, they can either finish early to get to a job. We do even have one of our Brisbane Catholic schools going into online learning, so some of the subjects will be offered online. So I think that is going to provide a really exciting space for future learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm having more and more conversations all the time. I've had one conversation with a school about a pure online school experience that they'll be offering. The rural and remote students, I think, are also benefiting from more people realizing the potential of the technology as a platform to be more flexible for schooling. So it's exciting times ahead. PJ, what's your how can school potentially change?
Well, all of these things that we're talking about, they're all on the agenda for what's coming up next in the future. So online schooling, staggered days, changing it up. Like, do the students come in at night instead of in the daytime and have part-time jobs or volunteer at different places? So there's so many different options. And now with the technology, we've got the capacity to be able to do it. But I just wanted to say thanks to Jocelyn for sharing all of this. I've got to run to my next session, so I'm going to.
Oh, that's right. We're going to wrap up in a sec. So that's perfect.
Yeah. See you later.
Thanks, PJ. So yeah, look, I just want to thank all of our panel members for being here and having this discussion, really important discussion today. Thank Jocelyn for her insights into the digital dilemmas. But digital nutrition, I think, is what I've seen most people take away as their experience today. So thank you, everyone.